Hey there, y'all. I'm Lena and I'm a homeschool mom of, I have 4 kids. I have 2 that are doing full-time school and 1 that is in preschool. And I'm here to talk to you today about what I did for preschool this year. For my other 2 kids, we always did a co-op preschool thing with some friends where we would just get together and each mom would take turns teaching the alphabet to them. And that was mainly what we focused on. But that was not possible this year due to the pandemic and just the living situation that we were in. We didn't have a lot of friends with kids his age, so we didn't really have the option of doing that this year. So last year when my kids came home from spring break and then never went back, I needed something for my then 3-year-old, almost 4-year-old, to do while his brothers were trying to do digital learning. So we signed him up for ABC Mouse. We had used it before with our oldest, I believe. And we had liked it, but we hadn't really found it a necessity back then because he had this co-op preschool and he had other things to go do. This time though, we went ahead, we paid for the full subscription and signed him up, and he's still doing that now. He actually just got off it. But it's been great. He's learned a lot from it. He's done a lot. I do have to watch and make sure he does his learning assignments because sometimes he will just gravitate to the fun games. But as long as I give him a rule that he has to do like 3 learning path exercises before he can do just whatever he wants, I usually have a good chunk of time before I feel like I have to get him off. Honestly, he would probably stay on it all day long if I allowed him to, but I don't. But that has been our first thing that we have used for preschool. So as I moved out of digital learning and began to decide that I was going to homeschool my older kids, I realized I was going to need to do more than just throw ABC Mouse at my 4-year-old. That he would want to do something with them, that he would need to do something with them. So I decided that I was going to create my own preschool. At the time, the plan was to then send them back to school after this year, but that has since changed. And as I came to the realization about halfway through the year that I was going to be keeping my kids home, I realized I needed to prepare him a little bit more to be doing a little bit more schooling, and we needed to slowly build up instead of me jumping in next year when he starts kindergarten and suddenly saying, okay, now you're in school. He needed to do a little bit of build up. So we've slowly been working on that. So when we started this year, I started out by pulling out all sorts of Pinterest things. We were doing letters of the week and it was going really good, but it was taking a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I found I didn't have as much time as I thought I would. My time with my older kids with their curriculum, it was taking a little bit more in the beginning of the year. But we still kept with it and we've worked a lot. So first we did a lot of these just cute little workbooks. Okay, you can find these at the dollar store, you can find them at Target, and we bought tons. So this is colors and shapes. He already knows all his colors and shapes, but it gives him something to do. So we have not done much of this, but we are kind of starting into it now as just a little bit more work for him to do. We also have worked through almost 4 of these alphabet books. So these have been great. They just write the letter and they have one little activity to do. So he has 2 of these that are from different companies that we've worked through, and then he had 2 that were whiteboard, and so he did them to erase them. So he finished most of those. We are currently on the letter W. We just finished W. So we are almost done with the alphabet. Hey! I don't know if I've ever gotten through all the way through the alphabet with my kids by myself. We always they always get it figured out and we give up, but I'm determined to do it, and we're almost there. So we've been doing those, and so those are just something where I can give him 2 letters a day usually, because we get behind, and I'll say, hey, here, go write your P's and your Q's, and I tell him what he's supposed to do on each page, and he can go do it, and that gives me 5 minutes when I'm in the middle of teaching a math lesson. So that's been good. I also found this fun little thing. I think I found this at Target, but a scissors skill. So I rip out a page for him, and it just gives him different ways to practice. He's actually pretty good with scissors, but I definitely remember my oldest for sure when he went to kindergarten. He really struggled because I had never let him use scissors before. That was really scary to me. So we just use these every once in a while when I need him to do something, when he's distracting us during something. I say, hey, why don't you do a scissor cutting drill? And they find that super fun. As we've gone on, we've been working, as we've learned all our letters, we began to get into reading and starting to put letters together and read those CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant words that you start with, and those simple 2-letter words. So I found this reading readiness workbook. It's been really good, where he's just trying to sound out what is the letter that you hear? What letter do you hear in the middle? What letter, this one over here, was what letter do you hear at the beginning? He can read all of these words, so it was really good for him to work on the sound. He struggles a little more with hearing the sound at the end of words, so that's something we are working on. But we are about halfway through this book. Actually, a little more than halfway. Look at us go. And we just started this. He really likes this because he feels like it's a little more grown up than the other one. And then we have a book that we will start and work on over the summer on phonics that will work on his long vowel and short vowel sounds. We have not learned yet the difference between consonant and vowels. We're just learning the letters. So that will be our next step. He also has not learned long and short vowels, but he does know there are some words that make different sounds. So I just point those out to him when we are working on reading, and we will be starting into that as soon as we finish our reading readiness workbook. So one thing that we did that kept us on track, this was the best thing, it really kept us on track so that I always had something to do, was we used the Easy Peasy All-in-One Homeschool preschool program. And this just gives us, you do a letter a week is what you're supposed to do. We used that very loosely because we didn't always do it every day. And so sometimes we would do like 3 of the lessons in one day, because the way it's set up, here it is, I don't know if you can read that, I don't even know if it's in focus, but it gives you little links to videos that sing songs for each letter, and so it will usually have 5 or 6 little links to videos about that letter over the course of that week that you're supposed to do it in. And so I would usually give him that. He would go watch the video and bring it back to me while I was in the middle of another lesson. I would click on the next link and send him. Sometimes it would have a little game for him to play. So he liked that. It gives us printouts to do. So they have a story. They have a running story of each letter has an animal they associate with and a reason it makes it sound. There's a story for that. And they are building the story throughout the year. So at the beginning of each week, they introduce that animal and you get a coloring page. So for V, we had Victor the vulture. And so he colored all of these. I don't have all of them. I don't know where all of them went, but we've kept all these. So here's our Ulysses the unicorn. So we always colored those. They also had some tracing things and they would give us scripture and you would find the letter in it. We didn't do those. We mostly just did the coloring page because he found those to be a little boring, and that's fine. So we did those. Sometimes it would give us a little craft to do. Like this week, it gives us a whale that we can color. We've already colored William the walrus somewhere. I don't know where he is. I think he might have hung him in his room. He was really proud of his walrus. So we will usually do the craft that goes with it as well. The other thing we always do is we've created a little alphabet book that he's made, and we do a little craft each week. Sometimes we do crafts that, like, this was not our letter B, but we made a B out of his hands. But we've done one for every letter of the alphabet. We still need to do our W. Here's our vampire bat for V. So we've stuck with that every week because I thought this would be a fun little keepsake to do for him. So that was our preschool. Once he got into, I said that he began to get to where he was ready to read. We found, my mom actually found this book, the reading lesson. It says, learn to read in 20 easy lessons. And I was really skeptical of this because I was like, 20 lessons. Okay, this is not meant to be done in 20 lessons. Like, each lesson takes multiple days. So, it is going really well. He is picking up on stuff so well. I was terrified to teach my child to read because this is such an important part of their learning, and I was totally afraid I would screw it up. I am not an elementary education major. I wasn't taught how to do this. So, this works so well and is building on itself really nice and slow. So we use this. We also use the Easy Peasy, also has a learn to read program. Let me see if I can find it. So in the learn to read program, there's two ways. You can do sight words or you can do phonics. And we've worked with sight words because he knows his letter sounds. And there's like 200 lessons. This is going to last us for a really long time. And he's doing really good with this too. We may need to jump back to the phonics section because he's missing, I feel like he's missing a couple things. But it gives us new words for the lesson, usually like 5 to 6 words. So they'll work on those words. They'll go through them about 3 or 4 times. And then they're given a story. These stories are from the old McGuffey primers that were used hundreds of years ago, like 100 years ago or whatever, when you had the one-room schoolhouses. And they just slowly build on each other, just like the reading lesson does. So we switch back and forth and do them both. So we'll do the reading lesson for a few days, and then we'll go back and do a lesson in the McGuffey primers. And then sometimes when we get bored, we pull out, we got Bob books. These are so fun because he feels like he gets to read his own books. And we've almost finished. I think we've got 2 more books to go through and then continue reviewing. But he's doing really good and he has a lot of fun with those. And then I got him some just very basic level 1 readers to work on. And he can't read all the words in them. I help him with the words he can't do. But just really super simple things that he can read most of, and he can start seeing the way words go together, start learning how to put the pictures with the words. He really, really loves this level A reader that literally says the same thing. I play with the shoe, I play with the ring, and so on and so forth. And he loves this because he can sit down and read it on his own and feel like he has his own reading time. So I think that's pretty much our reading. Sorry. Except that we did start the other day working on sight words. So these are the first 10 sight words. He's got them down. We're ready to add the next 10. I know in kindergarten the goal is always 100. So that's going to be my goal as we head into our kindergarten year. The last thing we did is we weren't really putting a lot of emphasis on math in any way. We learned our shapes, we learned our colors, but I didn't really know where to go from there. Then around sometime in December, The Good and the Beautiful needed to offload its old math curriculum, so they put it on a super sale. I tested him, he tested into the kindergarten level to be able to start it. So I figured, what the heck, it was so cheap, and so we started level K of The Good and the Beautiful math, and he loves it. He actually, whenever I ask him, do you want to do school? he asks to start with math. So sometimes I have to tell him, no, we need to do reading. But he just really loves everything about this. It just has lots of fun little games to play. It tells everything through fun little stories. There's these cute little colorful workbooks. It sometimes takes a little long. It can be a little wordy because of all the stories, but I think that's good at his age. It really draws him in and engages him. He's learned his months of the year, his days of the week. We're learning, he can tell you pentagons and hexagons. There's flashcards. We have little manipulatives. And it all came together. Now, The Good and the Beautiful is revamping its thing, so this will no longer be available. They will have a different level K. Sure, it will be wonderful. But that is what we're doing, and it's going really well. Now, I do not have him do preschool every day. I base it off of how he's feeling. So I will, while yes, I will say you are really distracting to your brothers, here, go do a worksheet. When it comes to actually sitting down and working on something new, his math, his reading lesson, something a little more intensive, sight words, something like that, I usually ask him, hey, do you want to do some school? If you're looking to start preschool or kindergarten, I hope this has helped you a little bit, and stay tuned as I tell you what exactly I'm planning to do for next year in another video. Bye now.